second show. Today, we're visiting two special guests, Thomas Jefferson and Ben Franklin, to talk about the Declaration of Independence. Thank you so much for coming here today, gentlemen. Nice to meet you.
It's been nice to meet you too.
Nice to meet you.
To start off, for the viewers that aren't quite up to date with politics, would you mind telling the audience exactly what the Declaration of Independence was and what it proclaimed?
The Declaration of Independence was a document proclaiming the United States' separation from Great Britain, signed July 4th of 1776. I, Thomas Jefferson, am the author, along with Ben Franklin, John Adams, Robert R. Livingston, and Roger Sherman, who made up the Committee of Five, appointed by the Second Continental Congress. The Declaration promised a few basic freedoms for the new country to be set up, such as life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
Thank goodness the United States separated from Great Britain. Life was so much different before the Declaration. Do you remember what all went on leading up to the Declaration of Independence?
Well, after the Boston Tea Party, Parliament responded with a series of laws designed to tighten their control over the colonies, called the Intolerable Acts, which really angered the people in the colonies. So in response to these acts, our colonies began sending representatives to meet and discuss a response which led to the creation of the Declaration. Another thing that really led up to our separation with Britain was Thomas Paine's Common Sense pamphlet, which became very widespread throughout the colonies and heavily influenced their opinion and the common person's opinion on the separation from Britain.
When the Declaration was published, the world undoubtedly changed forever, as it affected many different groups of people across the globe, obviously, as well as the society of the United States. There must have been many different reactions to this document as a result. Can you reflect on exactly what happened soon after it was published?
Well, the colonies were all really different, so there wasn't one universal response in America. Some of the colonies were happy and others didn't want to break away from Britain. For example, Georgia did not send any representatives to our first Continental Congress meeting in 1774.
There were also many indirect effects of the Declaration of Independence being signed outside of the United States' independence, of course, which showed how this event in America was significant enough to cause a ripple effect all the way across the world. The independence of the United States is very closely related to the independence of France, in many historians' eyes. Shortly after the Declaration was signed in 1776, France released their Declaration of the Rights of Man and Citizen, which was very similar. And in Vietnam, another document, which they had their own version of the Declaration of Independence, was also released. Both documents resembled the United States', which proclaims an important governmental concept that all men are created equal, very similar to how the liberating words of France said, "Men are born free and remain equal in rights." Once the United States had officially declared independence from Britain, we became allies with the French, who provided critical support in the American Revolution, a war, like much of history, that would have ended very differently were it not for the Declaration of Independence.
The Declaration of Independence was truly a turning point in history, arguably the single most important moment of the United States history in at least the 18th century. As the author of this document, you must have a strong opinion on this topic. How is the Declaration important?
The Declaration of Independence had many lasting effects all throughout history, which was made it such an influential turning point. The concepts and ideas first presented in the Declaration, such as the notions of personal freedom and a government with religious and social toleration, huge concepts, especially at the time, heavily influenced the way that the United States is set up today. Evidence of this is clearly portrayed in our Constitution. Without the Declaration, the framework for the rights promised there would not have been laid out. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness were clearly highly influential to the freedoms we have today, such as the freedom of speech and freedom of religion, which were later greatly expanded upon in the Constitution. These freedoms are still prevalent in society today, hundreds of years later, which truly demonstrates the lasting impact of the original freedoms that the Declaration has had on our nation.
The Declaration also heavily influenced concepts presented in the Emancipation Proclamation. As the Declaration proclaimed, we hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal, which provided the baseline for equality in America today, beginning with same political rights for all races. This promise also caused many slaves to be inspired towards liberty, enough to fight in the Civil War, in addition to the war effort with the potential to forever change history. If the Declaration of Independence had not been created, there would be no basis for equal rights and freedoms that became highly characteristic of an American society hundreds of years later, including today, which is very evident with gay marriage just being legalized this summer.
Wow, the Declaration was truly a critical moment of history. However, for a show, time's about up. Thank you so much for joining us today on this show.
Thank you for having us. It's really been a pleasure.
Thank you.